Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to present the UNESCO-UNISA iThemba Labs NRF Africa Chair in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology. I am Professor Malik Masa, a joint staff of iThemba Labs and the University of South Africa, and I am currently the incumbent and the chairholder of the UNESCO-UNISA iThemba Labs Africa Chair in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology. The UNESCO Nano Africa, for short, is a partnership between three institutions, that is the UNESCO, the University of South Africa UNISA, and iThemba Labs National Research Foundation of South Africa NRF. The UNESCO Africa Nano Chair is administered and hosted at the School of Interdisciplinary Research for Graduate Study, the CIS, and at the College of Graduate Studies, CGS of UNISA. It consists of two nodes, one in Florida Science Campus, and the second one is based here at iThemba Labs in the Western Cape, where we are currently. The UNESCO-UNISA iThemba Labs Africa Nano Chair consists of around 42 fellows. 32 of them are postgrad students. The rest are postdocs and senior scientists and associates. And within the postgrad students of around 32, half of them are from South Africa, and the rest is from the rest of the African continent and the South. 50% of them are females, and the bulk of them are registered at UNISA, of course, in different colleges, the CSAT, as well as the KS, SBL, as well as in humanities and anthropology in particular section. In terms of research activities, by nature, the research activities of the UNESCO-UNISA iThemba Labs Africa Nano Chair, it's multidisciplinary, and it deals with, it's geared towards, energy application, development and engineering of nanomaterials for energy applications, and the second one is for health applications, and the third one is for agriculture, and the last one is just a small component, not really large, but it's related to water, but for specifically developing nanomaterials for cloud harvesting, in view of the fact that South Africa has a very large coast bordering two oceans, more than 200 kilometers in that regard. In terms of the research activities in the field of nanosciences, in energy, allow me just to mention this typical case of designing and engineering nanomaterials, so nanocoatings for solar energy heat management. If I take this case of this such activity that is led by Dr. Itani Madiba, it aims to developing smart coatings which, once are coated on a glass of a window of a house or a window of a car, would allow to regulate heat from the sun. When it is hot, the heat is reflected back, is blocked, and when it is cold outside, the heat from the sun is transmitted. So it acts like a smart window, and therefore acts like a smart air conditioning or a green air conditioning. And these coatings are intelligent in a way that they do not use any energy input. It's just they sense the heat of the temperature in the atmosphere outside the house or outside the car, and the glass coated with these intelligent materials will block the heat from the sun, or will allow it to come in when it's cold and reflect it back when it's hot. The second typical application that is related to energy is the development of what we call nanofluids. These nanofluids consist of nanoparticles dispersed in a normal fluid, water for example, or ethylene glycol, or oil. And this type of nanofluids do possess or exhibit high thermoconductivity. That means they are capable to remove heat easier, and that is once used in a car engine, for example, the heat is removed easily and fastly from the car engine, and therefore it goes to the radiator, which cools again this nanofluid, and this nanofluid is injected again in the engine of a car, removing the extra heat from the engine and cooling faster the engine, and therefore allowing the engine to have a long lifetime, one, and second, to allow the engine to use less fuel, and in addition to that, to allow the engine to work under less stress conditions of heat, and therefore increase its lifetime. The second applications of these nanomaterials on which we are working is in particular agriculture. So we design nanoparticles to be used as a novel generation of nanofertilizers. As you can see, for example, there are 3 pots here of tomato plants. Is the first one on the left side, that is this one, does not contain any nanofertilizers using these small nanoparticles that we biosynthesize. The second one does contain, has been treated with the microparticles, while the third one has been treated as a fertilizer by nanoparticles. As you can see, the growth is very fast and very robust, very effective. The leaves are more dense and the plants is very high, therefore one should expect a high rate of fruits. So these nanoparticles are green, are biosynthesized by green process, less harmful, no waste so far, no dangerous waste, and therefore this is a part of a new generation of fertilizers. The other aspect that we are dealing with are application, in addition to energy and agriculture, it's materials for health, and in this case, for example, the typical case of nanoparticles of cerium oxide, which are biosynthesized using a plant, an indigenous plant, which is called the Hoodia gordoni. So to develop these materials, and these materials do exhibit very low reflection of UV radiations from the sun, and as you can see, it's nearly zero. All the UV radiation from the sun are blocked, UVA and UVB, and that cream could be used in cosmetics to ensure that the UV, once the cosmetic is put on the skin, it blocks the UV from the sun, and therefore it protects the skin from the cancer. So these are for health applications. Last but not least is an application of nanomaterials for cloud harvesting. We use nanoparticles to ensure that once the clouds are formed, these particles, once dispersed in the cloud, they become droplets and they become heavier, and therefore it becomes rain, and it will rain. And this activity, in effect, is of a critical or strategic importance in view of the water scarcity in the rural areas in particular, and in view of the fact that South Africa has a very large maritime border, more than 200 kilometers, interfacing with the two oceans, the Indian and the Atlantic, and therefore allowing it to dispersing this nanopowder in clouds allows these clouds to make a rain, and therefore to have quite effective water raining in harsh areas, in particular at the arid areas close to the border so far of the maritime border of South Africa. And of course, these activities are not limited towards Africa, but they are intended to be applied generally all over the African continent and the South and worldwide. Why not? Because all of them, the energy activities are in line with SDG 7 and in line with the niche area of the university. This one is with the nanofluids. It's related to SDG 7, energy efficiency, and the niche area of the automotive industry, because this is targeting the automotive industry so far. And this one is targeting SDG 13. The same thing for this one, also SDG 13, and also in relation to the niche area of the university in terms of valorizing indigenous plants and addressing the agriculture shortages. And also this one is in line with the SDG 6 because water scarcity somehow. Yet this activity does complement somehow the activities of the Nanos Water, our colleagues there at Pretoria, Johannesburg, Florida Science Campus. It does not, how can I say, duplicate, but rather complement their activities. And in terms of internationalization, of course, the UNESCO-UNISA, iThemba Labs, NRF Africa Chair in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology has a heavy footprint in South Africa and the SADC region, Botswana, Mozambique, and Lesotho, and hopefully soon Namibia, but also it has a large footprint in all over the African continent, and also in terms of cooperation with India, China, Australia, and New Zealand, including of course Latin America, that is Brazil, and North of America, specifically Canada, and Europe, mainly with Italy, with the south of Europe, that is Italy, France, and the Middle East also. And well, the major partners of the UNESCO chair are of course the UNESCO, the NRF, the DSI in South Africa, but also the DAD in Germany, who does sponsor quite a number of fellows from the African continent, as well as the international Swedish program ISP in Uppsala. The current trend currently of the UNESCO-UNISA, iThemba Labs, NRF Africa Chair in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology is geared towards R&D translations. So by doing so, the idea is to go for more patents and hopefully spin-off companies which would be created by the fellows of the UNESCO-UNISA Africa Chair in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology. And I thank you.